#1 bucket list expert. Bucket List Life's mission is to help you get off the treadmill, stop Groundhog Days, hack your habits, and live a regret-free life. Because we know life's way too short not to live your bucket list life. So please welcome your host, Trav Bell, the Bucket List Guy.
Boom. Hey, bucket listers. Welcome to another episode of the Bucket List Life podcast. Oh, what a guest. We have today Christian Boucousis. Mate, did I say that right?
Boom. There we go. You absolutely killed it there, Trav.
And I had to write it down even though it's on the screen. How pathetic is that?
You don't know how often as a child or growing up, mate, I wish I had a name like Trav Bell. You know, like having Boucousis as your last name has been murdered every which way.
What's that heritage?
It's Greek heritage, very, very a long way back. Many generations. Actually, my direct descendants are all British, but somehow Spiro got on a boat from Greece to England, did a few trips, and the boat sank with him on board, and that was as far as we can trace the family tree.
It's always old Spiro, isn't it?
It is, mate. I'll tell you, and there's a bit of Spiro in everyone. Certainly is in me.
There is. I actually did
anyway.
Part of my bucket. Yeah, no, I actually did part of my bucket list during lockdown and COVID and all the stuff that we've been going through the last 12 months. So actually one of the things on my bucket list, I'm adopted. So one of the things on my bucket list was actually to trace my heritage. And I went to Ancestry DNA and they send off a kit and you spit in a cup or this little vial thing. They send it in a centrifuge, spin it around, and then come back with these amazing results. And I am literally like the song England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales.
Really?
And yeah.
So you had no records. You were literally adopted, but can't trace back your biological mum or dad.
No. I don't know. I don't know too much about that side of things. So I've never had.
I thought they had that on record somewhere, and eventually they just gave it to you.
No, you don't get adopted out, mate. They go, oh, here's where you came from. That's good luck. So I can't claim any land rights or anything like that. It's just I come over on the boat like everyone else.
Oh, there you go, mate. Well, hey, look, it's certainly an adventure. And I'll tell you what, one of the things I noticed about traveling around the world and being an expat, whether you're an expat or an immigrant or a migrant, I think that change in life, that whole change of seeing the reason for moving, starting fresh, starting anew, it's so important, mate.
Yeah,
it really rounds people out, I reckon.
I'm 37% Irish. That's why I reckon I'm funny. But everyone else around me reckons that's a complete bullshit. But anyway, we digress. When we are flying around the world, when we used to fly around the world, we used to fly in these things called planes, and planes would land in other countries. And when we land, we fill in a incoming passenger card, and we have to put in our occupation. So, Boo, what do you put into that little section as your occupation?
That's a really.
What did you and what do you now?
That's a good question. It's actually, whenever I get to that question, it takes me about half an hour to figure out what to put in the box.
Yeah. An adult film star never goes down well.
Yeah. What's your occupation? Nothing.
They
love that.
You're a mule. Well. You're a mule.
Yeah. It's there's been many phases, Trav, I guess, and many different boxes to be filled, and that's why I was kind of excited to get have our conversation today and get on the bucket list concept, because I've always had that feeling that every second in life is precious, and you've got to lean right into it and do as much as you can. So
and you definitely have,
yeah. So when I from when I would have put student in there, that would have phased into lawnmower man, then into glassy at a pub, moved into student pilot, officer cadet, into fighter pilot, from fighter pilot into business owner, director. From there, it went into property developer, from property developer. There was a segue there between director and property developer. That was security consultant.
Wow.
A property developer
Is that another way of saying door bitch or what?
Yeah, it's kind of go back to my roots. Then a hotelier would probably have been one.
Oh, wow.
And then a publisher when I acquired a publishing business. And probably now it's a good question. I'm thinking speaker, life coach type of scenario. But if I'm brutally honest, just sort of moving into a new phase, mate, and trying to. I've got a rough idea of what my value is, I guess, and where I feel I can help people. But defining that is a bit of a process. So maybe the COVID's been very timely in that I don't have to fill that box out at the moment.
Yeah. Thinking time, recalibration time. That's what it's
exactly,
been.
Yeah.
So where does fighter pilot fit in all this?
Look, fighter pilot was the dream. It was the purpose for me.
Yeah.
I don't really have cognitive recollection of what happened. I have a feeling that what happened was I went to an air show when I was young, around 5 or 6. I watched these incredible machines flying around at speeds that at that age you can't fathom. I mean, the fastest thing you've seen in the 1980s is the new Fairlane as it rips past you on the freeway back up in Brizzy where I grew up. And I think hearing the noise, feeling it, the smells, the kerosene, jet fuel wafting over, the heat, the crowds, walking to the aircraft, and just as a little kid staring up at these huge machines that may as well have been UFOs, spaceships, and then meeting the pilots and thinking, wow, people actually fly those things. That's amazing. And then I turned into a real aviation nerd, and I ran around the air show and I collected patches and models and pictures and magazines. And from that point on, mate, I was hooked. Posters everywhere. I was a really weird kid, reading books about war and fighter pilots and Knights of the Air. And there was a really, to me, a romantic connection with that particular, I guess, job. Sure. It was my purpose. I was not very academic. I'm not really great at focusing, but whenever I did focus on something, I did reasonably well at it. I call myself the underachieving overachiever. If there was if I rode in the first 8 at school, but I was the 8th to get into the team, and the first 6 volleyball, but I was the 6th to get into the team. The last person to get on the track and field team, the last guy to get into being a fighter pilot. So everything I've done, mate, no natural ability, but through hard work, I've just crept over the parapet. And
that's the stuff that gets respect. Nothing. I call bullshit on life. People go around, especially us life coaches, go around and say, "Oh, you got to get your balance. Get a balanced life." It's all about work-life balance. So bullshit. When you're obsessed about something, be obsessed about something. Go flat out, or not at all.
Mate, it's a great point. Someone asked me that. I was on a podcast yesterday, and someone said, obviously, with a success behind you and everything else, you must be really good at life balance. And I'm like, there's no such thing as life balance. My whole life, and my partner, my family, my kids, everyone gets behind the outcome here. There is no quarter given until the job is done.
And I become a stepdad 3 years ago. 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago, I become a stepdad.
It's a very rewarding,
kids.
Challenging role there.
Well, the whole adopted thing, it's kind of my way of paying it forward in a way, and being a stepdad to 4 kids. I've been obsessed in the last 3 years about being a great parent.
And how do you find that? That's a tough journey, that one, because there's so much outside of your control and so many intangibles and interpersonal relationships there. Like that's being that person, the desire to be there and actually being there. That's a challenge too, particularly.
I reckon that's a whole other podcast. That one. That's.
I'll tell you what, mate.
How long have we got?
I genuinely believe that development courses around modern families and blended families is so important now. It's so common, but people really struggle with it. This whole concept of not my kids, so not my problem. And what a lost opportunity, eh?
Yeah, I think at what age and also what are the backgrounds of the parents as well, the originating parents, and I think everyone tries to play favourites. Never done that. Just me, I can only do the best with what I can and front up to be the best example for the kids as I possibly can. And that's the one that I've stuck with. And unfortunately, that's all they've got. It's just me being the best example I can be.
Well, that's perfect.
But, that's rather than tell, I'd rather show.
And that skill you apply to being a parent, being a successful entrepreneur, being a fantastic partner. As long as you've got that view on life, that no matter what happens around you, it all comes 100%. Back to you. I think life starts 100%. To get a bit easier.
So you've got the posters. You're completely nerding out about jets. Has Top Gun? We're before the 80s, aren't we here?
Yeah, it was so 74 into the 80s. So I was in high school, I think, early stages of high school. So I'm 46 now. When Top Gun first came out, and that wasn't introducing the deal, that was closing the deal for me. When Top Gun came out, watched that a few times.
Are you looking forward to Maverick coming out?
Yeah, in fact, mate, small plug. We've hired out the cinema down at St Kilda and up here in Cremorne to bring a bunch of fighter pilots for the launch. And with Afterburner, we're going to do the launch of Top Gun 2, which has just been moved back to the 19th of November. It was meant to be. Yeah, so mate, we'll get the invite in the mail, Trav, and we can do that.
You got my number. You got my number.
The full Afterburner
mate,
Top Gun.
I'm happy to come as Iceman. If you need me to come in as Iceman, I will do that. I'll even grow a mustache as Goose. Whatever you need to.
You just got to leave your shirt on, mate. There's no volleyball at the event.
Damn it! I've got the oil on already.
Yes, look, and when you're young, you don't realise the difference between real life and storytelling to some degree. But now, as a speaker, I think you really learn the power of a story. And how it's the story that connects with people, not the actual activities and action. So that was a great story. Unfortunately, once I started flying fighter jets, the stark reality hit, which is nothing like Top Gun. It's very professional, very focused. Yeah,
really. You can't just party all night and sing songs to strange women's in bars, and then expect to get up and fight MiGs.
Look, there's been a few shenanigans in bars, and there's a few. She's Lost That Love and Feeling's been sung once or twice by real life fighter pilots. Let's be honest. But it's a very different world. And whereas in Top Gun, it's very cowboy-y and high risk taking environment. The opposite's very much the case.
Very calculated.
And I think that journey for me, without realizing it, equipped me with so much more than learning how to fly and being a competent fighter pilot. I think the way in which we're taught to think, to find information, process information, make decisions, review the effect of our
decisions
actions.
quick.
Speed.
Light speed. Yeah.
And it used to frustrate me when I left the Air Force, how slow everything was, right? And how indecisive people could be, and how subjective decision making was. So the first 3 years.
A guy in the military, ex-military, think like that about civilians?
Yeah. Fortunately,
I haven't heard that before.
Oh man, and I'm lucky. Maybe I was blessed with a little bit of EQ, and I knew that was something to keep to myself. Rather than the feeling is like
podcast.
yeah. And it was me. I'm the issue. It wasn't everyone around me. If everyone around you is an asshole, and then maybe you're the one who's the asshole. And so the only way I can explain it, it's that feeling that you have like when you're in a traffic jam, when you're dealing with people. And I had a bit of post-traumatic stress when I came, because when I had to leave the Air Force because I was diagnosed with a autoimmune disease.
Right. So let's circle back to that. How long was the training? How long were you in the Air Force for, and then a fighter pilot for?
Look, your training's about 3 years, but at 3 years you're a junior fighter pilot. You are what we call a DCAT, where you are you can basically put your fly up after you've gone to the toilet. Not much else. Then it's another 2 years before you become what we call a BCAT, and a BCAT that's the most value that you can offer. You are full up. You can pretty much do everything that the jet needs you to do, and you can lead junior pilots. So all in, it's about 5 to 6 years before you get your full up license, and then from there. Right. Then from there, you literally get trained up to that capability, spend about 6 months to a year in the squadron, and then you go into your next phase, which might be as an instructor. For me, it was over to England to be an exchange pilot, flying in the Royal Air Force. There's a step, right? And what the military does really well, and again, it's something that's not in the civilian world, but I think it's more so, it is happening a little bit more now because the world is speeding up. There's always a pathway. There's always steps. There's always, if you have a destination in mind, there's well-defined steps you follow to get there. And really the differentiator is effort. In terms, it's not talent. It is effort, determination, and focus. So I think through that, you learn that you don't even learn. You get that ground into you. It becomes an innate part of your DNA. And when I left the Air Force and moved into business, I just applied the same philosophy: focus, determination, and follow the steps. And in the absence of clearly defined steps, you go and ask questions and find out, and have the confidence to say to people, you know what, I don't know. I don't know. Can you please tell me what is the best way to do this?
Well, that's also why a lot of these, the ex-SAS dudes are coming out now, and they're some of the highest paid consultants in the world now because of what they've experienced in the heat of battle, and obviously in training is very foreign to civilian life. But it's these steps and these processes, these systems, the mindset, decision making, as you said before, can be applied to everyday life, that we just don't get exposed to if you're not in the trenches, so to speak. No, right?
Absolutely. But I think the trick when you look, people are people. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter whether you're in a bank, whether you work for a supermarket, you're a teacher, or you're a fighter pilot. It doesn't matter. We're all humans. The only difference with a fighter pilot is you kind of push to the extreme of your physical and mental capabilities. Special forces are the same. Most of us don't wake up in the morning and we have to run up a 15-kilometer hill as fast as we can. Just don't have to do that. And we don't tend to push ourselves. I think the other real upside of the military is through that process of controlled push. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn that your limits are far beyond what you expected them to be. And I just remember the entire time until that BCAT stage, and even had it to a small degree. Then you're never comfortable. You are just every day being pushed a little bit more outside your comfort zone. And that's your bucket list, mate. I think you've got to do things. You've got to put yourself out there. You've got to explore the limits of your capability, because that's really exciting. Like when you do something new, when you push yourself, when you find something you've never done before, that neurochemical release is that natural high, right? Like and you feel good in yourself. It builds. No,
it's actually an inbuilt human need. We need to grow and develop, and we need to explore our potential. I say with this whole bucket list concept is on the other side of your bucket list is a you that you don't know yet, and that's called your potential. And when we experience more of our own potential, it puts a smile on our face. It gives us meaning, purpose, fulfillment. That's what it does. But the fact of the matter is, and I've been quoted on this a billion times, is people are dying at 40 and being buried at 80. Yep. They give up.
Yeah.
And they have that, the flame goes out, so to speak, and they're like, I'm on the treadmill. I'm just a number now. And it's not until something dramatic or traumatic happens to them or a loved one, or they get given a use-by date, they suddenly go, I might reprioritize here, and I'll get on, separate my daily to-do list from my bucket list and get on, but it takes such a slap, doesn't it? It takes such a slap, or a bloke in a white coat or a lady in a white coat called doctor saying, you've only got this much to live now, and suddenly you reprioritize. It's quite sad. That's why the bucket list movie shit. It's about two blokes who get given a cancer diagnosis, and then they write a bucket. Hey, dickhead, too late.
Yeah.
So,
but that's human nature.
We do share this. We want to help people push not push the limit in extreme, like I'm sponsored by Red Bull kind of deal. But at the end of the day, we do see that. You've done a lot of corporate gigs over a lot of years as both a CSP, a fellow CSP, certified speaking professional, done a lot of gigs all around the world. What have you mapped from the military, and especially from your history of being a fighter pilot? What's the most common things that you find you're helping people, map from your story into their civilian lives or their lives or their businesses.
I mean, I call it the GID project, the Get It Done project, right? Like the GID is the bit that is really hard for people to do. The idea generation, I personally think we overinvest in innovation and creativity. I think human nature is to be creative and innovative. The billions we pour into that is obscene. The bit I like is the execution, the actual make the idea something tangible, and that's what we're not real good at. And it's sort of led me off on a bit of a journey, mate. Exploring a couple of things like why are we good at dreaming and not doing? Why do we fear success? And what is it about our lives that we have this innate ability to self-sabotage? And yeah, they're big, heady terms, but it happens. And now that I'm aware of it, I watch it happen. And I ask people like, what you are setting destinations for yourself that you're fulfilling. You are saying, I'm not good at this. I hate doing this, even though it's important. And therefore you do it poorly. You don't even give yourself a chance. So for me, it's a case of managing this concept of optimism bias. It's this cognitive bias where we always believe everything we can do is easier than it actually is. And just small things like buying your first home, becoming a millionaire. Everyone wants to do something big and cool, but only a few people are able to do it. And that was, I guess, the pretext behind the podcast I started last year called The Few. And that's for me is, why is it people like you and other people who live their purpose and live the life on their own terms, why do you do it and no one else does? And I think there's a couple of areas.
I don't know. It's hard to fathom.
There's some adversity.
It's hard to encapsulate that. I don't know. It is a really good question to ponder. What is it?
And there is a couple of there's a few recurring themes, right? One absolute recurring theme is problem solving. People who become the few that live life on their terms, they just have this desire to solve problems. They love it. Yeah. Like everything that happens that's insurmountable, it's like perfect. The world has given me this great opportunity to solve this problem. I love and
that's what you got to do as an entrepreneur, though, don't you? You got to do that as an entrepreneur. And to add to that, what's happened in the last 12 months. Everyone has had gun to your head. You talked about innovation before, and talk to me about this. Everyone's had to adapt. Everyone's had to innovate in the last 12 months. It's like gun to your head.
Look at you and me right now, mate. We are on an innovative platform that is probably we wouldn't have really had much awareness of because we would have been in the studio together doing this rather than this all singing, all dancing streaming platform.
Which I don't know how to work most of it. But at the end of the day, but
you figured it out, mate. You problem solved it enough to meet your big goal, your big aspiration, which is to
I'm paying for it, and I want to make sure I get my money's worth, so I've had to work it out. It's about like it's. I mean, what do we do every year? We goal set, don't we? Everyone sets their goals.
Yeah, we have New Year's Eve.
Bullshit, we're setting goals. We're not actually doing goals.
We're not doing goals. And only 8% of people achieve their New Year's resolution. And I say to people, if you're making a New Year's resolution, you've already lost. You've lost because you've made it too much of a big deal. You've done it for the wrong reasons. You'll make the life transforming decision on a Tuesday at 3:00 in the afternoon. Or it will be a few baby steps. And I think that is the key. I love this concept of the small win, right? Where every day, if you set yourself up for these little tiny wins, you get that neurochemical release, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, right? It doesn't. You don't have to win an Olympic gold or win a track race against your kids. Your body doesn't know the difference. It releases those chemicals. And what I see in the corporate life every day is everyone's setting themselves up to fail, and they don't get to ride that wave. If you think about the average corporation and its strategy and what it expects people to do every day, it's really ambiguous and it changes all the time. So no one really knows what they're going to do. So everyone ends up in this beige existence where it's like, I'm not 100% sure what I need to do. Therefore, I'm not really going to try. And whatever I whatever I do, I'm going to build in some excuses in case it goes wrong. Everything becomes political and subjective. So what I try and do is to say, look, just do a few things. Just try and do 3 things a day, and understand the people that you connect with. You and them line up your 3 things. So whenever you're doing stuff together, you get the job done. And what you will find within your career as an entrepreneur, as a speaker, as an influencer, and what I find is there's key people around you that you can influence and get on with your agenda to help with your journey, right? But knowing how to do that is really important. And they're not going to do it if you're not clear about what you need from them. People love to help. But if people say, oh, Trev, what can I help you with? And you'll say, I need to sell more keynotes. They're going to go, oh, do it yourself, But if you come in and go, look, I'm really keen to influence 19-year-olds and people who are in palliative care and help people understand that there's a better life to live. And I embody that, and I'm just trying to figure out the best way to get that out there. You immediately open the other person to be part of your problem solving. And guess what? They like problem solving too. So all of a sudden, it's the same outcome, but the way in which we create the story and engagement and give the other person the opportunity to participate rather than be told, that's the key. And that's what I don't like, these elevator pitches. I don't like these hacks, all of this stuff, which is like short, sharp, and in your face. I don't think anyone's actually ever landed a deal doing that. I think that's a spend 11 seconds getting someone to buy into your dream and connect it to them is the most important thing to do. And
so go for it.
So when people say, and if I work with sales teams and they're like, oh, what do you do? How can you help? How can you help us? And I'll go, well, I'm not sure. What do you need? What do you need? And if I can help you do that, then let's have a conversation. I'm certainly not going to tell you we do this and we create great strategy to execution and we help you with debriefing. You might not want any of that. So it's all about getting out of yourself, right? And putting yourself into a facilitation role for the other person to understand their destinations and be part of the solution for them. Let them participate in their journey. And that telling culture is really, it's really human to have a hierarchy and climb up a level so you can tell more people what to do and get your agenda done, which I don't believe in. I think everyone has to learn to discover what their role is and how they can help. It's a journey that never ends.
So what, when say a company gets you to, do your talk or do some consultancy or whatever, what are they mainly looking for?
Often it's referred to as a circuit breaker. So they're stuck in a mode of operation. They're not growing. They're not going backwards. They're just kind of in a groove that's not a great groove. So they'll want like this circuit breaker, which is to say, can you help us get our people to rise up another level, to stretch their targets a little bit, to give them some motivation? That's typically where it comes from. And a lot of the work that I do is recurring. It's people that keep getting me back in there to keep reinforcing those lessons. So it's very much about it's very much about a bit of rah-rah, as a bit of Top Gun, obviously, as part of it. But then the meaningful piece underneath it, which is things like debriefing. So having these open and honest, what we call nameless, rankless conversations, where it doesn't matter who you are in the organization, from the CEO down to the new hire. You sit in a room, you look at where you want to be, you figure out where you are now, you identify these gaps in performance, and then you have a really frank conversation around, well, here's why I think I'm here. Here's my role in not achieving the outcome. And you know what? Here's what I'm going to do tomorrow to close it. So it's really this ultimate accountability.
So when you're presenting on your website, and by the way, your website, here we go, is afterburner.com.au.
I don't believe you when you say you don't know how it works, mate. I think you're talking yourself down.
That is next level. Look at the graphics there. Look, I got buttons.
That is brilliant.
So on your website, should people check out your website? There's you in the Top Gun looking outfit, the jumpsuit. Where does one get a onesie like that, and where does one get patches?
Well,
that's pretty much my goal for this podcast, mate. Just to find, where do I get one of those onesies?
You would be surprised how hard it is. Those are my. I'll probably get in trouble because you're not really supposed to keep them, but those are my uniforms from when I was a pilot. So they're all legit. They're all my squadron patches. It's all it's not a costume. It's a uniform.
Oh, you didn't get it down the road.
Yeah. So I've been trying, because getting a bit old, so the zips are kind of falling off. So I've been trying to get a new one. For lucky on stage, you can't see that well. So
it's a bit of a
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, 98%, mate. You don't have to be perfect.
That's it.
Yeah, they're really hard, mate. Really hard to buy. You can only buy them in the States. They're about $400. But if you sleep in them and the house catches fire, the good news is you're going to be insulated from it because they're made out of Nomex. If you want to pretend one, Nomex is
that like the fire suit? Really?
Yeah, the same as the racing car drivers were. Yeah. But if you want to play suit,
mate, how hot is that you're doing full on keynote presentations under the lights? How does the Nomex suit go?
Yeah, it's pretty sweaty, mate.
You're sweating up.
Yeah, that's the downside of virtual presentations in that flying suit. It's like, like you got out of the pool.
So much you can show. Yeah. Hey, tell me, this is just purely for interstate. Have you landed fighter jets on aircraft carriers out at sea?
You'd be surprised. That's the question everyone asks. I've not personally done that because we don't have any aircraft carriers in Australia. There is some of our guys, and I've got a team of about 15 fighter pilots that are also part of the Afterburner program here in Australia.
Oh, right.
Quite a few of those guys have. They went over to the States. They did an indoctrination course or exchange, and they have done it. And they're all guys. So to a man, they all say it's probably one of the scariest things you'll ever do, particularly at night time.
I can imagine. Oh, it'd be gnarly. It would be gnarly.
Yeah. The way they explain it's like coming down your driveway, turning into the driveway and timing 110 k's an hour to slamming on the brakes and landing your parking spot exactly. And you've got about one inch either side of the garage door to not hit.
Do you hear of many planes going over the edge because they couldn't put the brakes on quick enough?
No, it's not too bad. There's a big cable that catches them. The poor old brakes won't handle that sort of deceleration, and it's a lot like everything in the military. It's a lot of training, a lot of practice. You just don't hop in and go, "Hey, it's today's aircraft carrier day," and try your luck. It's this graduated sequence, and it's just nothing. There's nothing like it in the. No. And this is a really big lost opportunity for corporations. I mean, you look at the average aircraft carrier has 100% turnover every 3 years. 5,500 people, 100% turnover.
Why?
Yet, because that's the posting cycle. Everyone gets a job for 2 years, and then you're gone. And every cruise, it's a brand new crew. Everyone is new. And you look at organizations that struggle with losing one person because they do not have any of these simple systems.
Well, the military has to graduate people and has to move people through it, doesn't it?
I know, but here's my point. We have to. For everyone else, it's
you have to.
But for some reason, when we're chasing profits and margin, we spend all our money on creativity and new ideas that never get done, rather than the proven methodologies that the military uses to deliver far more complex outcomes, much more dangerous environments, and achieve these success rates of sort of 98%. And I often have this. I literally had this conversation yesterday with a client I'm working with next week, and they're like, "Oh, I don't think we can. We don't want our team to be demotivated by perfection." And I sort of said, right. So what you're saying to me is you don't want your team to believe that they can be better. We're not talking about being perfect at all. We're talking about PBs, personal bests. We like to talk about being just enough, and we've got to move fast. And this is a multi-billion, $24 billion company. And I was saying, well, I reckon right there's an opportunity for you here, because if you do the basics and you standardize it and you do the simple things really well, you free your mind up to do genuine innovation, saying, here's where we are now. Here's how the customer's evolving, and we just keep evolving our products. I mean, look at this is a Samsung, S21. It's the 12th innovation of the same phone. Aircraft.
Oh my God, you're on Samsung? you're on Samsung? We didn't. That was one of the questions before getting
Samsung,
onto this
mate, always.
podcast, mate. You had to be an Apple guy, or
No.
But
mate.
no, you're not Steve Jobs' bitch like I am. Okay,
No, I'm not creative and cool enough to be an Apple guy, mate. I felt like it was
I didn't want to say it. I'm glad someone did say it though, mate.
Exposed on the bucket list.
Do you know talking about the bucket list? Now I know, and I've had a few people who have been kind of involved, probably more movie buffs than anything, and they've gone to the bar where they sang "You've Lost That Loving Feeling," which is in San Diego. Have you been to that bar in Maverick?
I went to that bar, in Top Gun. And I would be very embarrassed to say that I only found it because I was on a Kentucky tour at the time, at the ripe old age of 22.
I would not have mentioned that. I would not have mentioned that.
Windows, mate, very uncool.
That's very uncool. That's could have left that bit out. But
22-year-old military guy, I need to go on a holiday. Where's something very structured, A to B, fully planned out, and pre-programmed periods of fun. That's my name all over it.
I will have fun there, and there. Yeah, I get it. Unreal. And so Afterburner now, like you just said before, you've got a whole bunch of fighter pilots in amongst that business. Tell me about that. Like what you send the troops out, so to speak, to go and run programs?
Yeah, so the business Afterburner itself was founded 25 years ago by Jim Murphy, who was an American fighter pilot, and he worked with Home Depot back when Home Depot was a little store in Georgia, and he read a newspaper article, and they said, we're going to expand nationally. We're going to go from 100 stores to 1,100 stores in 3 years. And he drove his car around from the air base, which was right next door to the Home Depot headquarters. And he walked in the office, and he said, look, is the boss in? And I wanted to talk to him about something. And long story short, they went, yep, he is. And he went upstairs, and the boss was a bit of a fighter pilot nerd. And he said, look, I've read this article that you're going to scale up real quick. Have you thought about that? Because at the moment you've got like 100 gun store managers who you've invested, years and years and years in, and now you're going to 10 times that in 3 years. How are you going to do that? And he's like, oh, it's a good question. And that was when the first Afterburner program was born. And it's all about acceleration. It's all about accelerating embedded culture, accelerating growth. It's a catalyst to growth. And really, there's this big big agile push now around the world. Everyone working agile, working in small teams. And
now, what is that? What is that? We see agile. I kind of know, but I'd like your different. What is the agile coaching?
In the corporate world, agile is a process that they take a murder, make it really complicated, and turn it into a linear process like they're used to. What it's meant to be is this really lightweight, fast management process. It's the process that fighter pilots use: plan, brief, execute, debrief. Quick plans, quick communication, more execution, and then debriefing, a check-in on how we went, and then adjust the plan, innovate. And Agile was created 20 odd years ago by another fighter pilot called John Sutherland with a developer, a software developer. Right. And then Spotify was the first, startup and multi-billion-dollar company that used Agile from day one. Right. And most companies use the Spotify model, right? But you can imagine, you like to surf, mate, and you've got one of the old boys who's been on Mal's, for the last 40 years. He's enjoying life. Don't rock the boat. Gets out there, and all of a sudden you're throwing him a thruster. And you've got to know how to use it within 2 weeks and enjoy it.
That's probably one of the best business analogies I've ever heard, mate.
That's what it is, mate. You've got these big legacy organizations, nearly 100 years old, and then they bring in these lightweight, dynamic entrepreneurial models, and it's just like crunch. It just doesn't work. So we try and help with that.
You need this kind of accelerate. Look, what is an afterburner on a plane?
Afterburner is if you could put an afterburner on any jet. So when you're flying your commercial airliner, they've got big jet engines on, right? And they push combusted air out the back, like the hose of your nozzle. And if you get your nozzle on the hose and turn it right up, it pushes you. A jet engine does the same thing. With an afterburner, they put a little round bit at the back, a cylinder with loads of fuel nozzles, and they just dump raw fuel in behind that engine. and that's effectively explodes. So it's a controlled explosion. And when you hear a jet in afterburner and it rips your ears out, that's because it's just a series of explosions ripping apart the air as the aircraft flies past you. So it's an afterburner by its nature is an accelerant. It's something that you have to make what you do day to day almost twice as fast.
Very cool. So when you're flying around, your afterburner is not on all the time, is it?
No, it's not, because when you fly like a Hornet, you could probably fly for an hour and a half ish on a tank of gas. If you put the afterburner on full, you got about 9 minutes. That's the amount of raw fuel that it chews.
Oh, fuck. Okay, so that's what an afterburner is. So thanks. There you go. I've learned shitloads.
Just take it for granted. It's one of those. Just take it for granted that people know. I should probably put that on LinkedIn and explain a little bit what an afterburner
No idea.
is. Yeah.
No idea. But I've been sitting here. No joke, but I've been sitting here going, all right, afterburner. How does all that fit in? How does the concept of afterburner fit in with what you do as a consultant? Well, you go in and you apply jet fuel and you get them to accelerate, and that really makes sense now.
That's pretty much it, mate. It's pretty much it.
It's really solid it's solid and quick execution. And yeah, you got me thinking. It's the companies like Spotify. It's a lot of these tech companies that go from zero to hero really quick.
Yeah, because they make quick decisions.
They learn quick. Like using an old methodology to do that just will not work.
No, it doesn't work. And those old methodologies create. I mean, a company's no different from a city, right? And the culture of the city, the feel, it takes a lot to change. And if you go traveling around the world and you go to cities that are near the coast, they're more laid back, they're more chilled. You go to a city that's where it's wet and snowy all the time. It's a bit more buttoned up. It's a bit more conservative. So you've got these. You've got these environments. So it's really hard to go and throw a dude from California right into the middle of Boston, and for people to just say straight away, "This is a great idea," even though it is a great idea. You just have that immediate like, "This doesn't compute. I'm comfortable with my world. I'm getting paid well. It's been working. Why on earth are we tipping it on its head?" So for me, that's what I see is this big agile movement that's going that's taking the world by storm. I think that people look at it as a bunch of steps that you go through in which to make things quicker. It's not. It's a complete change in behavior, and the whole thing is predicated on the way that fighter pilots do business. It's exactly the same, because you have to do everything at speed. There comes a time in a business where you just have to go and do stuff, and businesses are either doing stuff all the time or they're spending ages planning, and not often do those two worlds come together. Whereas fighter pilots, we plan and execute every day, every couple of hours. We run into the site.
Plan, execute.
No.
Plan. Yeah.
Plan, do, check, change. Plan, do, check, change. Yeah. Just keep loose and keep moving forwards. And I think that's how, for me as an entrepreneur, that's where you find these little niches, and that's where you get these innovative products and innovative services out to market. Because you just ignore everyone, ignore the noise, and just go into execution mode.
Yeah. What's the Facebook one? Move fast and break things.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then and steal people's identity. But they didn't know that bit.
But like the DNA you gave Ancestry.com, mate.
Yeah. I don't know where I'm going to end up. But
that's true.
See another one. Yeah.
That's
right.
That's a great thing to say.
So what happens in a hierarchy situation? You spoke about it before. Now I'm a CEO, I'm a founder, and we're moving pretty fast in our bucket list coaching business. Now, this is sort of more of a personal question. So do we bring in the afterburner when there's a growth problem, or do we bring in the afterburner before a problem exists?
Forget afterburner for a moment. Just bring agile thinking in. Bring this mindset, which is, and this is where more I'm taking it now around fighter pilot mindset rather than fighter pilot process. Because the process is now agile. There's many different ways in which to do this. The process that we have, but the mindset is, you don't bring a process in if something's broken. You are the process. It is your ethos and your culture. What we put in a piece of paper and made a nice, pretty picture was never called that as fighter pilots. It was our cultural norm. It was the framework in which we did everything and held each other to account, because it was the only thing that worked after trying everything else and killing thousands of pilots that stopped killing everyone. And the byproduct of that was this incredible increase in performance, where we got so much more done in a small period of time. So
Awesome.
so that's there's always shades of gray in everything, but human nature is to say, oh, there's a problem, let's bring Afterburner in. Afterburner's not going to solve the problem.
It's mindset. It's mindset
it's
first,
a mindset.
process later.
Correct.
Yeah, got it. Love it. I love that way of thinking. That's really cool. Real briefly, what is the core components of a fighter pilot mindset?
First is something aspirational, something that's spiritual and soulful, something that gets the mind engaged. It's something that is kind of a long way in the distance. It's big, you really want it, but you can't really touch it right now, and you're not 100% sure whether it's going to be a year or two. But you know you'll get there, right? Like it's Mount Everest, right? And right now, if I said to you I'm going to climb Mount Everest, and just went and did it, I'm probably not going to do it. Or if I did, it's going to hurt, and I'm probably going to kill a couple of people along the way.
So there. You don't want to just rock up there.
Exactly. So you kind of know that, right? And so for me, my very first, I guess, experience with this way of thinking was as a kid, where I was like, all I want to be is a fighter pilot. It might take me 2 years to get in, 3, I don't know. And I was also prepared, a bit like being an actor, that you're going to get knocked back. Like you kind of know. And I was knocked back the first time while I was still at school. And they deliberately do that sometimes just to see, whether you've got that resilience. So the first thing is that big dream, right? And I don't think many people have too much of a problem with that. I think we're pretty good at having a dream. The next piece, though, is that's the big win, right? The big win. The next thing, though, is the small win, the everyday activities that get us closer. And when you're going to a destination, you don't just boom, there's the mountain. It's up, down. I'm going to take my grubby. I've got a tennis elbow, mate. Old man injury. It looks very grubby.
Oh, wow.
So we call it MLA, mean line of advance. It basically means if you're a fighter jet and I've got to come and get you, you're the target. I'm going to have to go a bit over here, a bit over there, maybe go up, pop down, but all the time I'm heading there and bam, I hit it. But every single time I move away from it or I make a decision that isn't towards my destination, it's purposeful. It's objective, and it's a set of criteria that I probably already know because I have really simple standards and predetermined decisions that I already have made. Okay. I'm amazed at companies that have been in a business for 10 years doing exactly the same thing, and they don't have these pre-programmed decision points, particularly in sales and marketing. Every time someone says no to someone in sales, it's like the world's ended. It's like, but no is as fundamental a part of your decision making as yes. So why don't you build a process to deal with that? And we'll talk about that another time. So those and the 4 steps that you follow for that decision making to be accelerated and to bring people along for the ride is planning, which is collaborative, which is what we say. Hey, a plan isn't here's what I've thought of before. Do it. It's hey, I've got an idea. I've got an idea. I think it's okay. Let's work out the details together. And importantly, as fighter pilots, we have the rule of 3s, and that is only try and do 3 things at once. The primary thing, and if that's done, the secondary thing, and if that's done, the tertiary thing. And that's like that's a nice to have. Anything more than 3 or 3 equally important tasks, your brain can't handle it. And operating at speed at the edge of the mental envelope, because in a fighter jet, right, it's really uncomfortable. You're wearing lots of equipment. It's high. You're deoxygenated. You're pulling G, and you're doing trigonometry, calculus, algebra, all at the same time, right? And everything's moving in 3 dimensions around you. Like you're never on top of it. You are literally the Russian bear juggling on the big ball, right? So what you learn is I can't do everything. I'm not going to know everything. So I've got to be really good at finding the information I do need right now to make great decisions. So that's what the planning process is about, and it's quick. It's a quick process. Then we brief, and this is where leaders get it so wrong. They're either informing people, which is cool. That's like, the village chief, and I'm just letting you know what's going on. Like I'm a talking newspaper. That's fine, but that doesn't equal action. No one's
no.
In fact, it can destabilize people. So that's great storytelling. But the next piece is when leaders tell their teams what to do. They're like, okay, well, we heard the boss. This is what we're going to do. Go out and do it. And most people are like, do what? What do you hang on? That's completely different to what we just said we're going to do last week. Do you want me to do last week or this week? So people, they have this prioritization issue. And the prioritization issue comes because they weren't part of the planning. And the communication bit is saying, hey, we all planned this together. I'm just checking that you all agree that's what we planned and that you know what you need to do. And does anyone have any questions? That's briefing, right? So simple. No meetings. We never have meetings as fighter pilots. There's no such thing as a meeting. You're planning moving forward, or you're debriefing looking back. That's the only two phases humans live. You're either going forwards in life and doing, or you're sitting back going, how could I have done that better? So the execution piece, the execution piece, which is critical for fighter pilots, is maintaining focus until the job's done. What do you focus on? The three things you planned, right? That's the whole point of them. What does execution like in the average organization or in life? Well, bing, bing, there's my phone. Well, I'm going to do the thing that's in front of me right now rather than the thing I should do, or I'm going to do the stuff I want to do, not the stuff I need to do. And when you really sit back, and what I love seeing is when we get a team really firing, and I've had a few of these over the years and it's mind-blowing, is they pretty much churn out a full week of work of a normal team in about a day and a half. Crazy. And then they've got all this extra time in which they decompress, or they spread that out over the week. So they're at home more, picking up their kids. And that, you know what, mate? It's so uncomfortable for them to be like that. And you have to coach them.
We're all experiencing that right now, aren't we? We're redefining what this whole work-life thing is.
Absolutely. And you have to look, I said, you're a leader, you're done. The work is being done now. If you're starting to get involved and micromanaging, you are what we call a gherkin as fighter pilots. You are a grenade of clarity. You're just going to wipe everyone out. So get out of the way and then shift from being a leader into a doer. Because if someone needs your help, get in behind them, give them a hand, do what they're asking you to do to help them, not the other way around. And that's where the wingman concept comes from as fighter pilots, right? Wingmen don't fingers all wrong here. Oh, two hands. Wingmen don't just follow pilots around, like a secretary. A wingman is mutually supporting. So what we say is, hey, I'm the leader. I don't have much clarity right now. I'm not sure what's going on. You've been sitting behind me, checking everything out, what's happening. Why don't you have a go at leading so I can collect my thoughts and get back on the program? Or I might just say to my wingman, hey, we have the word tumbleweed. Tumbleweed means I've got no idea what's going on. And they might just say, this is the picture. This is what's going on. Oh, cool. Or I'll say, look, handing over, you take over. I'm going to build the picture up. You take the lead. So we're always conscious of shifting. Whoever knows what's going on the best is the leader. Whereas hierarchical organizations, we just stay like this, and these wingmen become dumb because all they do is follow the leader around. So that concept of mutual support, mutually supporting leadership is super important. But debriefing is the key.
That's Mate, I could listen to you for the rest of this day, that's for sure, and probably into the weekend, being a Friday right now. And I know
hear the fridge humming, and I can see the glass door and the beer inside.
No, it's the wind's right and the tides are right, and I know there's some good banks out the front, so that's where I'm surfing. Mate, this is awesome. Once again, guys, check this out. So afterburner.com.au is where Boo's information is. Mate, I have learnt so much today. I really, personally, how it all works. I've learnt what a real wingman is. It's not just a bloke's mate that follows you into a bar and helps you
which is still very important, mate. Most of us today are married thanks to that guy.
So it's important to have a wingman, a good solid wingman. I've learnt what a tumbleweed is, and I've also learnt what a gherkin is. So there you go. And so much more. Mate, how can, apart from afterburner.com, how can people connect with you on the socials?
Look, just reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's Christian Boucousis, which is, I think that, does that green thing come up, mate? Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
My name in the
yep. So it is.
Google that. There's only one of those in the whole world, so that's easy.
There would be.
In fact, mate, talking of families earlier on, my father, my son, and myself are the last 3 Boucousis left in the whole world. So there you go.
There you go. Little
get it
known
before
fact.
Get the good gouge. The good gouge is another word for you. Good gouge is good information, useful information. So get the gouge before the Boucousis.
Whole language.
And obviously, and we're going to have you as a guest very soon, Trav, on the Few podcast, where we kind of explore and unpack, trying to find these trends. Good people like yourself, Trav, and other people that live there, best sells. What is it that makes it click? And it's been a great journey because we're starting to see some cool trends, and that is at Few Podcast.
Oh, love it. Awesome. Mate, Christian, so good to connect with you, so good to learn from you, and to get your wisdom, downloading that over the last 56 minutes that we've been going. Absolutely phenomenal, mate. Can't wait to jump on your podcast and share the love. So, guys, check out Christian, check out what he's up to. If you're part of a business, you're an entrepreneur, I think there's some absolute gold in amongst that. So, guys, thanks so much for tuning in once again to the Bucket List Life podcast. Remember to review, leave a review, like, share, do whatever you do. It's just too much. There's too much social media, and each one does its own thing. So
do something. Just do 3 things. That's all.
Whatever,
that's all you ask for.
whatever your social media is of choice, be a friend, share the love, and more importantly, get this information to people that you know that could benefit from it. So thanks so much from the bottom of my heart once again for tuning into the Bucket List Life podcast. And Boo, thanks, buddy, for jumping on. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Cheers, Trav. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to the Bucket List Life podcast with the world's #1 bucket list expert, Trav Bell. For more great content, go to www.thebucketlistguy.com.